The Legion Bivouac, Military Camp Installation. Group 3.
Prepare to witness the most exclusive camp ever.
And journey into the future of military advances.
So sit back and enjoy our presentation.
Good day, everyone! Welcome to the Legion Bivouac, the most secretive and sophisticated camp installation in the world. I am Nelrani Navarra, the General Architect, Armed Force of the United Nations, Korea.
I'm John T. Salazar, General Architect of Air Force Army.
I am Daniel Din Espagalanes, the General Architect of the Navy Force Army.
The purpose of military camp installation.
So you might be thinking, what is the purpose of this design? So the purpose was to aid the development of an optimal base camp facility layout by studying and identifying the proximity relationships between essential facility components. These relationships were determined through extensive research, surveys, and interviews with the key stakeholders. 3 separate relationships charts were created representing the mean, the median, and the mode response scores from research and online survey of critical base and camp stakeholders from around the world. These charts were then used in conjunction with the score of rectilinear distance matrices to organize the data of software optimization. The computerized and relative allocation of facilities technique was used to solve a near optimal layout for 3 base camps with 15 facilities. These 3 layouts were compared to each other as well as standard base camps found in theater construction management system software.
These capstone projects as the United Nations Military Academy have an interest in finding an optional base camp layout. The purpose of this project was to solve the military camp problems around the globe, uniting every country's strength on armies, weapons, guns, tanks, artillery, ships, warplanes, military personnel, and aid in the development of a base camp facility layout optimization system by understanding the proximity relationship between base camp components, developing a facility layout domain, and comparing generated layouts to existing models in camp.
Why Legion Bivouac?
Why Legion Bivouac? The military camp was inspired of the Roman Empire creating the huge army in the year 509 BC to 27 BC. Roman legion was the largest military unit in the Roman army, composed of 4,200 infantry and 300 equities or cavalries. In the period of Roman Republic, and the meaning of bivouac is the shelter of trainee.
The concept.
The design concept was inspired by the pentagon shape. A pentagon is a geometrical shape which has 5 sides and 5 angles. The pentagon has a 5-point like a star, and the star described as the rank general of the army. Why pentagon? It's a symbol of the world military strength. The concrete steel building is recognized around the world by the high quality of land, air, and water military training. Ground can improve the world military system. Nearly 30,000 military and civilian personnel work inside the Pentagon each day.
Location of the Legion Bivouac.
You might wondering, where's the location of the Legion Bivouac? The location of the Legion Bivouac is in the Myeodong Island in South Korea. This is the village of Myeodong, is situated in the north of Changchong. The northern of the island was in the Gwangyang. If you can see the map, here is the northern, here is the Gwangyang city. At the west of the island is covered up of seas or waters. At the south of the island is the Wolnedong, and the east of Myeodong, the Yusuf Airport, where you can see in the map.
As the biggest military installation in the world, the camp was a complete package of military base. We have the Army Base Pentagon, which is located in the center of the Myeodong Island. The Air Force Base, which on the east side of the island, and the Navy base in the side. These locations are simply applicable to its function. We put the main camp on the center of the Nadodong Island to cover up lands and mountains away from the enemy. And we separate the Air Force and the Navy bases to avoid surprise attacks of the enemies.
Design strategies and goals of military camp installation.
So let's proceed to the design goals and strategies that we used for this design. First, green architecture. Not only did we use it for our nature, but we also use it as a camouflage for our camp.
We have military renewable energy source. So we have industrial power plants that we have in our camp.
Another thing is that we have the military defense advancement. We used advanced technologies such as nuclear power, and we have this enhanced guns and machines that could possibly destroy one shield at a time.
And next is the military war strategies advancement.
Next is the military personnel's advancement. As you can see, we use some training grounds to train our militaries in different departments or different branches of our military system. They are improving and they're trained very well for the safetyness of our lands. Yeah.
Next is the military equipment advancement. We used highly organized and specialized weapon to conquer the enemies at all costs.
And the military naval advancement, we applied it in the location and the surroundings of the naval base.
Military aircraft advancement. We use some many airplanes advancement using lasers to secure our future aircrafts.
Military space NASA research advancements. These are for resources and informations across the globe, and for further informations that are capable to build among the site and to surpass and to communicate along the other forces in the whole world.
Next is the landscape advancement. We use the landscape and the land topography for our advancement, and we located our camps with the respect of the land in Myodong Island.
Next is the military communication advancement. We use telecoms, we use navigators, we use everything that connects us in one mode, as we are militaries and we need communications to protect our soldiers.
And last but not the least, the military community advancement. We gather so much potential armies that are fit and are capable of doing things that are indeed required potential to gather the forces that we need in this camp.
Army Force Camp, the main camp.
We are now in the land of the armed force, or the army forces. An army forces, or a ground forces, or land forces is a fighting forces that fights primarily on land. It's the broadest sense. It is the land-based military branch, the service branch of armed service of the nation. It also introduced aviation asset by processing an army aviation component. Within the national military forces, the World Army may also mean a field army. The army exists to serve the people, defend the nation, to protect the vital national interests, and to fulfill the national military responsibilities. Our mission is enduring to provide necessary forces capable to combat the commanders in support, the national security, and the defense strategies. The mission is to preserve the peace of the security and providing for the defense of the country. Next is supporting the national policies, implementing the national objectives, overcoming any nation responsibilities of aggressive that acts imperil the peace of security of the United Nations. It means like if you attack a country, you are now in under of the war in the United Nations. And now we're using the weapons of our armies. The United Nations Army employs various weapons to provide light power or firepower for short ranges. The most common weapon we use, the army, is the compact variant and M16 rifle along with the 7.65 millimeter variant and FN SCAR of Army Rangers. Crew serves weapon. The crew served weapon. The United States of America Army standard medium machine gun. They use that and they improve it as our weapon to defend our country. We use vehicles. We use tanks. We use tank vehicle to support the main people or the infantries. The purpose of the army most common vehicle is the high mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, commonly called as Humvee in the United States. The weapon of platform and ambulance among many other roles. It is the main vehicle used in wars. We're finished now in the armies and for our people or personnel. Now we proceed to the main camp, or we call as the military or the armed force military camp base. The military camp base was located at the center of the Miodong Island. As you can see, this is the main camp of the armed force. You can see there a Pentagon. You can see there the Pentagon. So as you can see, the armed force building was called by the Pentagon. It is the center of all communication with highly equipped defense by armies. The armed force are the center of the site. It's because of the offices. There's the offices, the files, all files, documents, the defense equipment, headquarters, housing, industrial power, institutional, training grounds, transportation, laboratory, and etc. Pentagon building, it is most adjacent to all. Like you can see, it is adjacent to travel or to communicate or to commute along to the Navy base. And of course, the main camp is easy to connect with the Air Force. Next is, we're now in the plan. The Pentagon area is 134,300 square meter squared. And now we're in the ground floor of our Pentagon. This is a medical area or medical department. In the upper western is the schooling, and in the upper side of our Pentagon is the utilities, and in this side is the facilities, maintenance facilities, and offices of the trainings or the trainee in the armed force. Next is this side in the eastern is the navigator. Next is the southeast in our Pentagon is the convenience, and in the center is the main building of our Pentagon. Going to the first basement plan of the Pentagon. The Pentagon first base plan was divided by 3 departments. We have the official headquarters of the Army or the Armed Force. We have the Navy official headquarters, which is in the western. And in the eastern side, we have the Air Force official headquarters. We have the multimedia center for our brigades or generals to gather up, and we have the center or the lobby as it is the center of our building. We have command department, we have a brigade's headquarters or the general headquarters, we have the finance offices, we have the access elevator or stairs here in the sides of our pentagons. And mostly we have this floor is for the offices in our pentagon. And let's move on for the second basement plan. The second basement plan is focusing on the maintenance of our aircraft, maintenance of our land vehicles, and maintenance for our equipments. This floor plan is basically divided into many factories, from steel manufacturers and from our industrial power plants and many more.
So let's proceed to the second floor plan. Second floor plan was focusing on the military housing, medical housing, and other branches of military system in the armed force base camp. And let's proceed to the last floor, the third basement. The third basement is focusing on laboratories and storages. The storages of missiles and the storages of gold and the storages of our equipments. This is the front elevation and the longitudinal section of our pentagon. This is the entrance and exits of our elevation or our pentagon. This is the access to the stairs and elevator. This is the parking areas, or we call the main lobby or the main building of our pentagon. Entrance and exits. And from the longitudinal, as you can see, there's the elevators and stairs going to the second basement, first basement, and to the first and second floors. Same as here and same as here. 7, and lastly, the terminal are high strict when it comes to spy, visitors, and terrorists. The demand vehicle using in the place of armed force main camp was train, bus, cars, and motorcycles. The security checks every person's and having a code using fingerprints and process as your identity card. Every entrance of the building, vehicles, and checkpoints was inspecting your identity card as your information to enter this level of secret base and a level of semi-public area in the main camp of Army Force. Navy Force Base.
Now let us proceed on how we design and plan the naval base. First, the Legion Navy is the Naval Welfare Service branch of the Legion military base. It has an estimated strength of 25,000 active service personnel, including the 12,500 strong Marine Corps. It operates 81 combat ships, 12 auxiliary ships, 25 aircrafts, and 8 unmanned aerial vehicles like drones. It shares the responsibility of patrolling the maritime borders with the nation's Coast Guard, formerly attached at the unit which became separated Maritime Law Enforcement Agency in 2000. The Legion Navy is administered through the Department of National Defense under AFP structure. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, UN, and a 4-star General Admiral. The senior naval officer is the chief of the Navy. who usually holds the rank of Vice Admiral. It is further organized into 7 Naval Operation Commands, 5 Naval Support Commands, and 7 Naval Support Units considering the vastness of territorial waters that the Navy has to protect and defend. Optimal deployment of naval resources is achieved through identification of suitable locations where presence of this unit is capable of delivering responsive service. The Legion Fleet, or simply the fleet, is under the direct command of the Commander Nation's Fleet, while the Marine Corps are answerable to the Commandant PMC. The Chief of Navy has administrative and operational control over the command. Now let's proceed on where it is located. It is located at the southwest part of the island Myeongdong in Korea. It is the very ideal site where mountains surrounds it, so it can be protected from any enemy attacks. So let's discuss about the parts of this naval base. First is the Naval Air Wing Units. It is located right here in this part of the plan. It is composed of flying units and 9 non-flying units. First is the Naval Operational Command. Is located here in the center of the vicinity. The Naval Operational Commands are responsible for overall naval and maritime operation, which are divided into 7 commands through the category. Naval Support Commands. The Naval Support Commands are responsible for the sustainability of naval and maritime operation, which are divided into 5 commands. And we located it here near the shore, or in the port of the naval base. Next is the Naval Sea System. The Naval Sea System Command, or NSSC, formerly known as Naval Support Command, NASCOM, provides quality and integrated naval system support in service in order to sustain the conduct of naval operations, and it is the biggest industrial complex of armed force of the nation, and it operates the country's military shipyards, develops new technologies for Navy, and conducts maintenance on all the ships. And it is located somewhere here at the front of the vicinity, and the other branch is located around here at the west of the vicinity. So next is Naval Education, Training, and Doctrine Command. It is located around here, and it is labeled as Operation Training Facilities. The Naval Education, Training, and Doctrine Command is the nation's Navy's institution of learning. Its mission is to provide education and training to naval personnel so that they may be able to pursue progressive naval careers. The one located here is the Naval Reserve Command. The Naval Reserve Command organizes, trains, and administers all naval reservists, which includes the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps units, midshipmen, and midshipwomen. It is responsible for recalling reservists to provide the PN the base for expansion to meet sudden spikes in the military manpower demand, as for war, rebellion, or natural disaster calamities, and to assist the socio-economic development of the country. It is presently based at the core of the Navy base in Myeongdong, or in Myeongdong. Next is the Naval Combat Engineer Brigade. The Naval Combat Engineer Brigade more popularly known as CBs, is tasked with combat engineering and amphibious construction in support of fleet marine operations. Naval combat engineers perform tasks such as mobility, counter-mobility, assault, survivability, and construction in the conduct of the ground combat and amphibious operation. It executes under combat condition the structure of roads, bridges, and other vital infrastructure, the rehabilitation of piers, harbors, and beach facilities, and harbor cleaning and salvage work. And it is located here at the southwest side of the vicinity near the port. And next is the Naval Installation Command. The Naval Installation Command, formerly known next is the Naval Institution Command. It is located here at the southeast part of the vicinity of the plant. And the Naval Installation Command provides and supports services to the nation's Navy and other AFP tenant units in the base complex, such as refueling, rewatering, shore power connection, berthing, ferry service, tugboat assistant, sludge disposal, and service and housing. And that would conclude all the infrastructure and or all the facilities here in planning the Navy base.
The Air Force is the youngest of all 5 services. It became a separate service on September 18, 1947 after President Harry S. Truman signed the National Security Act of 1947. The Air Force has become the world's premier aerospace force. Its mission, simply put, is to defend the nation through the control and exploitation of air and space. Although obviously tasked with flying missions, most personnel work on the ground in various construction, support, and technical capacities. The Air Force focuses on these areas: aerospace superiority, the ability to control what moves through air and space ensures freedom of action. Information superiority, the ability to control and exploit information to our nation's advantage ensures decision dominance. Global attack, the ability to engage adversary targets anywhere and anytime holds any adversary at risk.
Air Force Base.
Precision engagement, the ability to deliver desired effects with minimal risk and collateral damage, denies the enemy sanctuary. Rapid global mobility, the ability to position forces rapidly anywhere in the world ensures accidental responsiveness. Agile combat support, the ability to sustain flexible and efficient combat preparations is the foundation of success. The bottom line, the Air Force is focused on flying. There is also plenty of other opportunities on land though. If you like flying and are working with flight systems and technology, the Air Force may be for you. So let's move on to the missions. In general, the Air Force shall include aviation forces, both combat and service, not otherwise assigned. It shall be organized, trained, and equipped primarily for prompt and sustained offensive defense air operations. The Air Force shall be responsible for the preparation of the air forces necessary for the effective prosecution of war, except as otherwise assigned and in accordance with integrated joint mobilization plans for the expansions of the peacetime components of the Air Force to meet the needs of war. Core missions. The 5 core missions of the Air Force have not changed dramatically since the Air Force became independent in 1947, but they have evolved and are now articulated as air superiority, global integrated intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, rapid global mobility. Global strike and command control. The purpose of all these core missions is to provide what the Air Force states as global vigilance, global reach, and global power. Offensive counter-air, or OCA, is defined as offensive operations to destroy, disrupt, or neutralize enemy aircraft, missiles, launch platforms, and their supporting structures and systems both before and after launch. But as close to their source as possible, OCA is the preferred method of countering air and missile threats since it attempts to defeat the enemy closer to its source and typically enjoys the initiative. The OCA compromises attack operations, sweep, escort, and suppression destruction of enemy air defense. Defense counter-air, or DCA, is defined as all the defensive measures designed to detect, identify, intercept, and destroy or negate enemy forces attempting to penetrate or attack the friendly airspace. In concert with OCA operations, a major goal of DCA operations is to provide an area from which forces can operate secure from missile threats. The DCA mission comprises both active and passive defense measures. Global Integrated Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance (ISR) is the synchronization and integration of the planning and operation of sensors, assets, and processing, exploitation, dissemination systems across the globe to conduct current and future operations. An Air Force KC-46 Pegasus refuels a C-17A Globemaster III.
And that would conclude our presentation. Again, I am Architect Magallanes.
And I am Architect Navarra.
And I am Architect Dan Lloyd Salazar.
We would like to thank our mentor, Architect Mercurio. Thank you for watching.
Have a nice day.